The most important part is to surround yourself only with people who uplift you and whose presence brings out your best attributes. Distinguishing real connections from fraudulent ones can be difficult, similar to identifying a mirage from an oasis in the wide desert of human contact. In a world full of meetings and mismatches, where masks of cordiality and self-interest are long gone, determining who actually cares about us is an art that requires not just intuition but also a keen eye. At times we place disproportionate trust in the goodness and generosity of people when the truth is that we are being exploited. Just like an experienced gardener knows how to distinguish between nutritious plants and those that leach resources from the soil, we must learn to recognize our genuine partners in life. However, we must also identify emotional parasites. As a result, we will now look into the subtle indications and less evident patterns that reveal the underlying intents lurking beneath fake grins and hollow promises. If you are here, it is because you are interested in personal development. In this material, we will examine the wisdom of resolving these human enigmas, revealing the route to more real and satisfying relationships. Before we begin, I'd want to suggest that you watch this movie till the end, since all of the material is important. Stay resolute and focused. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Failure to keep commitments is analogous to a theatrical production in which words are the performers and deeds are the discarded script. These people have perfected the art of verbal persuasion, creating vivid images of dedication and support. However, their words frequently lack the substance of action, building expectations with the flourish of a painter, only to stumble when it comes time to turn these painted visions into reality, revealing the hollowness of their promises. In such situations, a pattern emerges when their assistance is most needed. When their promise is about to be fulfilled, these people frequently go, leaving a gap filled with sorrow and despair. This absence at times of need is more than simply a breach of trust. It reveals their genuine objectives. Their promises are manipulative tools, aiming to take value, trust, or support without the expectation of reciprocation. Failure to keep commitments becomes a type of litmus test, separating people who see relationships as a two-way street of mutual respect and support from others who see connections just as routes for personal benefit. For those left in the lurch, the experience frequently teaches a painful but vital lesson. Not all promises are founded on honesty and integrity. Thus, failing to keep commitments is an important habit to look for when analyzing and recognizing those who may try to take advantage of others. It speaks louder than the most eloquent words, showing a person's actual character and intentions. Recognizing this pattern allows one to negotiate the difficult landscape of human relationships with a more discriminating eye, therefore protecting their trust and emotional investment. Individuals who often utilize others as stepping stones for personal benefit are skilled at using disparaging words to erode their target's self-esteem, confidence, and feeling of self-worth. These statements, disguised as comedy or casual chat, are actually barbed hooks meant to tear down rather than raise. They may minimize your accomplishments, mock your goals, or act uninterested and insensitive to your troubles and obstacles. This behavior is similar to subtle psychological warfare, as it undervalues your accomplishments and objectives in order to create an imbalance in the relationship. It's a deliberate maneuver to keep you in a state of self-doubt and low self-esteem, which makes you more vulnerable to manipulation and control. In their views, your low self-esteem enhances their prestige, confirming their position of authority in the relationship. Furthermore, such disparaging words frequently reflect the speaker's own anxieties and feelings of inadequacy. They try to hide their flaws and create a sense of superiority by dismissing others. This conduct is a clear indication of their incapacity to form healthy, supporting, and reciprocal relationships. Recognizing and comprehending this pattern of conduct is critical because it allows you to see through the surface charm that such people provide and grasp the underlying destructive dynamics of the connection. It acts as a warning to either confront the behavior directly with the individual, establishing clear limits, or to remove oneself from a poisonous atmosphere. Unilateral benefit frequently emerges in numerous aspects of a relationship, whether financial, emotional, or practical. Financially, the user may repeatedly borrow money or resources with promises of payback or reciprocity that are never fulfilled. Emotionally, they may rely heavily on the other for support, approval, and attention while providing little to nothing in return. In practice, they may frequently demand favors, assistance, or time while being blatantly absent or preoccupied when their counterpart requires aid. This one-sidedness resembles a parasitic relationship in nature, in which one organism gains at the expense of the other. The user, like a parasite, seeks food, in this case, emotional, financial, or practical assistance, without contributing equally or properly to the host's well-being. Over time, a lack of reciprocity can deplete the giver's resources, whether emotional, financial, or temporal, leaving them exhausted and unsatisfied. Unilateral benefits are frequently motivated by a profound sense of self-centeredness and a lack of empathy. The user sees connections through a transactional lens, valuing interactions primarily on what they stand to receive rather than what they can provide. This approach to relationships is inherently wrong because it ignores the intrinsic worth of mutual respect, support, and give and take. Identifying this pattern demands a keen eye. It entails acknowledging the ongoing lack of reciprocity and the sense of being constantly shortchanged in the relationship. It necessitates an honest appraisal of whether the encounters make you feel appreciated and respected, or used and undervalued. This pattern of conduct, in which one's emotional landscape is persistently overlooked or undervalued, is analogous to caring a garden in which just one flower blooms while the others are neglected. In such encounters, the user's demands and goals are emphasized, while yours are ignored or rejected. Their behaviors and words cut away at your emotional well-being, leaving you feeling devalued and invisible in the relationship. This disdain might take different forms. It might be seen in the way they consistently ignore your emotional needs, neglecting to offer support or understanding when you are weak or in need. It might be apparent in their disregard for your thoughts and choices, as your voice is drowned out by their dominant narrative. They may fail to recognize your accomplishments, or worse, downplay your difficulties, making light of the concerns that weigh heavy on you. Such behavior is more than just callous, it is a deliberate disregard, a strategy employed to preserve an advantage in the relationship by ignoring your emotions and demands. The user creates an environment in which your self-esteem is diminished, making you more vulnerable to their influence and control. It is a subtle yet effective technique of emotional manipulation. This dynamic is especially harmful since it targets the fundamental foundation of one's emotional well-being. The need to be heard, understood, and respected is essential. When these demands are frequently disregarded, it can lead to a decrease in self-esteem and feelings of loneliness. To traverse such seas, it is critical to detect symptoms of emotional neglect. This awareness becomes a light, leading you away from interactions that jeopardize your mental well-being. It encourages you to pursue friendships based on reciprocity, respect, and mutual concern. Emotional manipulation sometimes begins insidiously, with the manipulator masquerading as compassionate and attentive. However, this veneer rapidly devolved into a tool for instilling worry, inadequacy, or guilt in their victim. They become skilled at pulling emotional buttons, praising to raise you when it serves their goal, and brutally criticizing or disparaging you to instill self-doubt and reliance. Consider the parallel between a gardener and a fragile plant. Attentive gardener maintains plants by providing exactly the right quantity of water and sunshine. In contrast, the emotional manipulator, like a careless gardener, fluctuates between overwatering and allowing the plant to wither in drought. They employ emotional extremes to destabilize, creating an atmosphere in which the victim becomes emotionally dependent on the manipulator's approval and validation in order to recapture that original sensation of warmth. This manipulation frequently attacks the heart of an individual's emotional well-being. They may downplay your achievements or exaggerate your shortcomings in order to put you in a constant condition of self-doubt. They may manipulate events to make you feel bad for ordinary activities, shifting responsibility to ensure you are always the one apologizing. In partnerships involving emotional manipulation, the power dynamic is constantly unbalanced. The manipulator has complete control, knowing when to show affection and when to withdraw it, keeping their victim off balance. This relationship is not about mutual progress or support, it is about meeting the manipulator's wants at the expense of the other's emotional well-being. Recognizing emotional manipulation necessitates a thorough understanding of these interactions. It entails understanding the patterns of interaction in which one's emotions are constantly manipulated. It encourages introspection to better understand how these encounters affect one's sense of self and emotional well-being. Imagine a tree in a large forest. Ideally, it is supported by the surrounding trees and undergrowth, which provide nutrients, shelter, and the companionship of a healthy ecosystem. Imagine a tree standing alone in a bleak terrain, with no other vegetation to provide support or protection. This is analogous to being in a relationship with someone who does not genuinely care about your well-being. You stand alone, unsupported, your branch seeking for companionship that never arrives. In such partnerships, your objectives, projects, and problems are greeted with disinterest or minimal show of support. This individual may recognize your goals, wish you luck, or provide verbal support, but their actions or lack thereof speak louder. When it comes to actual support, genuine advice, or even a listening ear at difficult times, they are noticeably lacking. Their assistance, if supplied, is usually shallow, more a matter of form than substance, and it frequently disappears when it is most needed. The explanation for this lack of true support stems from their self-interest. Your accomplishments or failures, difficulties or hobbies are only relevant if they influence them or their ambitions. They see relationships through a transactional lens, calculating emotional involvement based on prospective personal gains. This attitude creates an imbalance in which one party constantly gives, whether through effort, care, or resources, while the other takes, frequently leaving the giver feeling undervalued and unnoticed. Recognizing the absence of true support is critical to understanding the nature of your connection with such a person. It requires an honest assessment of the reciprocity in your interactions. Identifying and addressing this lack of support is critical to investing your time and energy in relationships that are nurturing, reciprocal, and genuinely supportive. Consider a game of chess in which every move is planned not only to improve one's position, but also to steadily weaken the opponent. In a similar vein, a person who only wants to use you will frequently view your relationship as a strategic game, with each of your accomplishments, decisions, or even challenges serving as an opportunity for them to assert superiority. Their actions, whether they overshadow your professional successes, outperform your personal accomplishments, or subtly undermine your decisions, are motivated by a desire to stay ahead in this self-imposed competition. This continual rivalry takes numerous forms. In a professional context, they may try to outperform you in meetings or claim credit for your ideas. In personal connections, they may minimize your experiences or accomplishments while emphasizing their own to look more significant. Even in casual conversations, there's a palpable sense that they're trying to prove themselves superior, smarter, or more successful. The root of this behavior is a deep-seated insecurity and a distorted perception of self-worth, in which their worth is determined not by their own merit but by their superiority over others. This viewpoint reduces every encounter to a zero-sum game in which someone else, in this case you, must lose in order for them to win. It's a mindset that prioritizes outdoing and overshadowing others over mutual growth. Engaging with someone who is constantly competing can be emotionally exhausting. It fosters a state of constant tension in which genuine collaboration or support is replaced by rivalry. Your victories are not recognized, but rather considered as threats to their supremacy. Your defeats are not addressed with empathy, but rather as opportunities for them to gain an advantage. Identifying and comprehending this pattern is critical. It aids in creating limits and, if feasible, readjusting the relationship to a more healthy and collaborative dynamic. It entails acknowledging that mutual respect and support, rather than a never-ending competition for dominance, are at the heart of any healthy relationship.